Alright, we finally made it. Welcome to the 6th and final BART video. It's been such a blast covering it, and we're actually done talking about the current BART stations, and now it's time to focus on the future. What's next for the West Coast's most expansive rapid transit system? We'll find out real soon. First and foremost, though, I of course have to shout out my awesome patrons who have been continuously supporting me. And without further ado, we have actually two new members. So we have Bakist and Jay Tanner, as well as, of course, Damien Ibarra, my Patreon you know, Dan Rubashad Carew, Tony Stunts, Generic GT, Geezer Windbag, Oleg, Jake Brabick, Carlos DeLuca, Flatlander, and Let There Be Daylight. Thank you all so much for your continuous support. I could not make this content without you all, so thank you. Before we talk about line expansions, let's talk about a new infill station that's planning on opening up in Fremont. Irvington will be an infill station, meaning one that's located on an existing and operating line, in this case the orange and green lines. It's going to be located south of the existing Fremont station and is scheduled to open in late 2031 as of the recording of this video. The area here is currently middling, and it reminds me a lot of what South Hayward currently looks like with BART. There is, though, an area plan. It's not specific on how many units it wants to build in the area, but gives 3 demonstrations of building either mixed-use or high-density residential at 3 sites. But let's get into what you really want to see. BART expansions, and of course, we have to start off with the one currently under construction. Alright, do you remember the history portion of this video way back in part 1? Well, BART's southern terminus for well over 40 years was at Fremont, and Silicon Valley and the Santa Clara County initially didn't even want to become part of the BART district. Well, those tables have certainly turned, and San Jose is in the middle of getting BART to its downtown in an extension south of Fremont. Phase 1 of the BART expansion is already constructed, with present service terminating at Berryessa, North San Jose, also adding stations at Warm Springs and Milpitas. Phase 2 will tack on about 6 more miles to the Santa Clara Transit Center, going through downtown San Jose and an underground subway, adding 4 new stations. Let's talk about them. 28th Street in Little Portugal will basically be Eastside San Jose's BART station, with connections to the 22, 23, and 522 rapid bus lines. It will serve as an important transfer point for Eastside residents to use BART to either get to downtown San Jose and Santa Clara, or up the bay to the rest of the BART system and the rest of the BART spurs. The area right now is actually across the highway from Little Portugal, which is an important commercial hub for Eastsiders, especially around 33rd Street. The station area is currently just a bunch of warehouses that, in my opinion, shouldn't be anywhere near housing, but the plan, as of the recording of this video, aims to demolish most of this warehouse space and implement at minimum station facilities like parking and hopefully transit-oriented development. As someone who was born and raised just a few minutes away from here, it's super inspiring seeing how there's going to be a whole new community built here, and I strongly encourage BART to keep all Eastside residents in mind, building some subsidized affordable housing here for a start. And that's the case so far. There's actually a TOD game plan that envisions 3.6 million square feet of new development in total. The game plan provides for a little under 8,000 additional housing units in the area, with ambitious zoning goals allowing buildings as high as 300 feet directly next to the station. Downtown San Jose levels of density. Downtown San Jose is the second station so far in this expansion, and this future station's entrance will be on the 1st and Santa Clara Street intersection, which is close to the present VTA light rail stations that are perpendicular to the underground BART alignment. Yes, this is a subway station in downtown San Jose, and in my opinion, this project makes us feel like we're going to be a real city. These platforms are super deep too, about 75 feet below the surface. Of course, downtown San Jose is already developed, and this is by default the most urban part of San Jose, and BART outlines that this giant parking lot behind the future head house will be developed. The Miro apartments are just a few blocks east, just by the City Hall, but are a great mixed-use high-rise development. Although not super new but modern nonetheless are the One South apartments across from the station, with a few ground floor tenants like Eric's, Deli Cafe, and Chipotle. A lot of the newer developments around here are going to be west of San Pedro though, like Centera, Axis, 188 West St. James, City Heights, and more. What's super interesting and what I think should be a common trend in American cities with low office occupancy rates is converting former office space into housing when possible. Is this expensive? Definitely, but we'll see with this project to convert the Bank of Italy building, you know, that really weird old building with a bell tower in downtown San Jose that doesn't seem to have anything going on. That's going to turn into 100 housing units, which I'm a huge fan of. Of course, they're going to accommodate retail at the bottom, and it actually should be complete in under 16 months, which is pretty impressive. Here at San Jose Diridon, BART will continue underground for 0.6 miles to another subway station very close to the Diridon platforms, where passengers can again connect with the VTA light rail, but finally there's an ace connection. I get having the head house be separate from the station, as construction inside the commuter rail and old head house would significantly disrupt present train service, which is not a good thing considering that Caltrain literally just spent a quadrillion dollars electrifying their trains, and they wouldn't want any more delays. And yeah, it has to be there. The right-of-way of BART is actually perpendicular to Caltrain's right-of-way, as it's coming from the east in downtown San Jose and not from the north or south. I've covered this station's area so many times, ever since my second video ever where I looked at the VTA light rail. To summarize, there's a tale of two sides of the tracks. On the west, an amazing existing community that's dense, has tons of open space, and is very walkable and livable. It doesn't hurt that there's a central business corridor on the Alameda with tenants like Whole Foods either. On the east of the station, absolutely nothing. Just a bunch of raised land of former industrial warehouses, as well as parking lots for the SAP Center and the Diridon station. There's no news on this development specifically yet, but there are some posted signs. There's supposed to be 2 new mixed-use high-rises that are coming with a public plaza in the center. There are no new updates as of August of 2022, and that's really the main theme of Diridon. There's promises made, and then promises hopefully kept. I mean, we'll have to see. It also looks like Google is once again going through and making strides, albeit very small, towards completing its downtown west vision with San Jose Diridon, with the company eyeing the site of a former Orchard Supply hardware for an affordable housing development. After all this underground nonsense, BART will rise and share the right-of-way space with Caltrain, Amtrak, and ACE. Santa Clara already has a ton of projects in its vision and is arguably doing a better job of following through with its projects than downtown San Jose. Also, on the station's parking lot itself, I had already mentioned the 2.4 acre site that will be redeveloped into something great. Orlo and the Gateway Crossings development is already looking fantastic, and Orlo's actually already starting to sell leases and is scheduled to open August of 2024, which is actually next month as of the recording of this video. Santa Clara Station will be above ground, and it's actually more of an intermodal station than Diridon because there is an easier transfer through a simple underground connector that will connect BARTies and Caltrainies together instead of a complex transfer system of going up and down 7 stories. After talking about the segments under construction that are already planned, I want to talk about some segments that are up in the air but I think are super important and that would be pretty beneficial to BART overall. As many of you may know, there is an initiative called Link 21 that lists a whole bunch of potential improvements for all Bay Area transit, regional rail, and light rail systems. It's basically a vision for how we can advance all of these systems that I've already talked about. The main proposal of Link 21 that I want to highlight is a second Transbay tube that would be further south of the present Transbay tube. There's actually a looming decision to be determined on whether this tube will be broad gauge for BART or standard gauge for other train agencies. I mentioned Link 21 in the video because BART could potentially get another expansion, possibly with an infill station in Alameda, that would relieve congestion on the already packed and important Transbay tube. But I honestly think that because there are more standard gauge services and that Caltrain will already terminate at the Salesforce Transit Center, the Transbay Tube should be standard gauge. I'd love to see an Amtrak service, especially a long-distance intercity one like the California Zephyr or the San Joaquins, go directly into San Francisco. I mean, the possibilities really are endless with this new tube, more so than a BART crossing. So this extension, besides the present-day Silicon Valley extension under construction, is likely going to be the next BART extension in my opinion. The planning document calls for 6 additional stations past the Antioch station, going all the way to the suburb of Discovery Bay, which is more akin to the Central Valley and cities like Tracy than the Bay Area. More transit is better than nothing, and there's a huge catchment area with the growing population in the Oakley, Antioch, and Brentwood areas. The thing is, these areas are dominated by single-family suburbs, and thus they're planning for a lot of park and ride lots with little TOD development. But I think this goes a little bit too far. It doesn't really need to go all the way into Discovery Bay. I think ending at Balfour Road or Sand Creek is just fine, and it would be more cost effective. Alright, these are my own thoughts from my own experiences. I'm sure everyone is going to have differing feelings, so keep this in mind. This is just my opinion as an avid BART user and fan. With the exception of the counties that first dropped out of BART in the planning stage, Marin, San Diego, Santa Clara, BART is extremely expansive. It goes up deep and east into Contra Costa County, covers most of Alameda County cities, San Francisco, and even stalwart suburban cities like Dublin and Antioch. Hell, it's even doing its best to expand further into San Jose, giving the city a total of 4 BART stations. And there's also San Mateo County going into Millbrae. It is, again, the most expansive pure metro and rapid transit system west of the Mississippi. Yes, even more so than LA. Look, I get it, LA. You guys have a bunch of light rail lines and 2 metro lines. Oh, yeah, but we're building into Pomona. Oh my god, we're building you guys are barely building an airport connector in 2024. The Bay Area will always clear you guys. You guys are barely catching up, and we still own you. LA hate aside, the interesting thing about BART is that it functions as both a metro system in cities like San Francisco and Oakland, with stops as short as 1,800 feet apart in San Francisco. But at the same time, when it needs to be, it will gladly serve as a commuter rail service. You could not have this with a more traditional heavy rail system that's diesel, which is why I kind of hate E-BART. BART has a transfer with every single Bay Area transit agency except for SMART and ACE. There are a lot of disappointing BART TOD stations currently, and while there are area plans, and that's great and all, stuff still needs to be built at the end of the day. But compared to other rail systems, BART and Caltrain are clearly the kings of TOD. Downtown San Francisco and Oakland don't need to be explained. These stations are in the heart of their respective cities, and BART serves them well. San Mateo County has some hidden gems, especially with the new Millbrae TOD, and a lot of development in South San Francisco, but it could do better in cities like Colma or Daly City. Alameda County is elite, being carried specifically by Berkeley and Oakland with tons of TOD projects, especially at the high-rises at MacArthur, which is simply amazing. Contra Costa County is pretty mid, but Pleasant Hill and Walnut Creek are among the best TOD projects in the entire Bay Area and carry that county. South Bay TOD is decent so far, but please give it some time. It just opened up 4 years ago. Milpitas is probably the fastest growing and changing city in the Bay Area, building a lot of units fast to accommodate TOD, which I love. I will offend a lot of people who are fans of BART, I mean myself included, but I currently don't understand the appeal of E-BART. It's a worse service, is a completely different train set requiring its own maintenance, is at the mercy of a transfer at a weird, non-accessible station that will cook you in the heat with a lack of shade, and the E-BART stations are cheaply built and frankly suck to be at because there is no TOD at all. Compare these E-BART sites to the Milpitas station, which opened 2 years later, and there's no excuses at all for Contra Costa County. If BART does want to expand the Yellow Line into Brentwood, It can't be E-BART. It needs to be a traditional BART service because that's what people in this area deserve. And listen, the ridership is there. People want to use BART, they want to use public transit. All you have to do is give them what they want, not a half-ass diesel-electric train solution. San Mateo County. I really can't stand this BART alignment at all. Most of it is underground because NIMBYs in San Mateo County were afraid of loud trains. It serves the worst and least dense parts of San Mateo County, where there are nothing but a bunch of rolling hill suburbs built in the Levittown days like Daly City and the west part of South San Francisco. Therefore, these stations, with the exception of South San Francisco and the exception of Millbrae, don't have any TOD at all and are just dropped in single-family home only areas. Speaking of loud and annoying, we have highway median stations. Thankfully, this is only a problem in the East Bay, especially with the spur to Dublin and Pleasanton, as well as the median stations from MacArthur all the way to Lafayette, and then back again from Pittsburgh to Antioch. These stations may be useful, and again, more transit is better than nothing, but they don't provide a comfortable experience for the passenger with loud cars drowning out possible conversations and a need to cross over the highway either over or under it. I'll be honest, it doesn't work in the long run, and I don't want future BART expansions to be in the middle of the highway, as this might be the case with any E-BART expansions following Highway 4 into Oakley and Brentwood. Alright, what can I say? Outside of these problems, BART is the Bay Area's most famous and elite transit system. It's the largest true rapid transit system west of the Mississippi and one of the most established mid-century metros in the US and a gem of the Bay Area. What's interesting is that although BART has been around for over 50 years, a lot of TOD projects are either in the planning stage or have recently been built, outside of established cities like San Francisco and Oakland. It's fast, convenient, runs on clean energy, has tons of transfer opportunities, and will get you to most Bay Area counties on a whim. And although I wish there was more TOD near BART stations, the fact that most stations are planning to build more developments around them says a lot about what BART is ultimately trying to become, which is a system making transportation around the Bay Area seamless and car-free. It was a blast shooting, editing, and recording voiceovers for the series. I love BART, and as a San Jose native, I can't wait until it runs underneath Santa Clara Street. BART, the Bay Area wouldn't be the same without you. As always, thank you so much if you've made it this far, and I'll see you next time.